Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Andriolo. I work as a research engineer at CEA in France, but today I would like to welcome you here in the name of IYNC Global Young Generation. Our network was launched at the beginning of this year as an integrated part of IYNC Global, so our vision and goals are in a complete alignment. Today's webinar is our first one. This webinar is supported by IGN UK, ENS Young Generation and IYNC. It is also great that we have here today many speakers thanks to IYNC Global, as they are already friends and followers of our association for many years. As a new young generation group, IYNC Global, we have chosen for you today's webinar topic to show and discuss that nuclear careers are not only passionate, but as we advance in our personal and professional life, we can find there also networking opportunities, diversity, gender equality efforts, and flexibility. Moderators of today's event are Veronika Struharova from Young Generation, IYNC Global, and Tim Walker from Thomas Thor Associates. So Veronika, Tim, and dear guests, the floor is yours.
With a confession, which is that I'm one of the lucky ones. I grew up in a family with two sisters. I now have three daughters, and I've been fortunate enough that every team that I've built or worked with through my 30 years of career has been a truly diverse team. So I sit on the side that sees this as a given, the answer to this first panel discussion. A more sustainable future will not happen without a diverse work environment and a wider inclusion of women. This panel will discuss the prospects for work environment diversity. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to Veronika to introduce our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. So our first speaker is Dominic Muyo, president of IYNC Global, a non-governmental organization of women working professionally in various fields of nuclear energy and radiation applications. IYNC Global has currently around 35,000 members located in 145 countries, regions, and international organizations. Dominique is one of the most recognized business leaders in the French nuclear sector. Currently, she works for the Spanish group GDES as vice president in France. Dominique has been involved in IYNC Global for over 20 years through different roles and positions, and has been championing women in the nuclear industry and the climate debate. Over to you, Dominique.
I have the... You hear me now. Okay, thank you for this initiative from the young generation within IYNC Global. I would like to remind the vision of IYNC Global when it was created, and it was created more than 25 years ago. IYNC Global is a legal organization worldwide and really wants to be a forum for exchanging information and raising awareness of the benefits of nuclear and radiation applications, enhancing the quality of life with a special emphasis on safety that ensures protection of the public and the sustainability of environment and climate, and to promote gender equality. For this reason, we consider that women have a very significant role to play in the nuclear for climate and in a sustainable environment. And we have had a lot of initiatives through the year, and especially the 2-3 last years. And I would like just to mention 2 or 3 of them, and especially the last one that we have launched with IAEA. We have launched the Women in Nuclear Security Initiative 2 weeks ago. And what we want with this initiative is really to promote and strengthen the involvement of women in nuclear security worldwide, because we know that security, safety is a key issue, especially beside women and beside young people. And we want also to attract young people, young talents in nuclear security careers, but not only in nuclear. In security education, security support, security guidance, and we think that it will be very helpful. And through such initiative, we can really promote the role of women in nuclear for climate. We have also had recently a webinar with young students and young ladies, especially dedicated to young ladies and young students, with WIN Morocco, making debate, inspiring women on their careers and promoting their networks. Because WIN is really linked to several very important networks. We have had as well initiatives with the African So, to tell you that we have really a role to play in creating the young generation within Global beginning of this year. We really want to get the help and the new ideas of the young people to attract them in our sector and help beside us to play a role in the nuclear for climate and a sustainable environment. It's really what I wanted to say as introduction, because I know that my role is to do these few minutes of introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. Our next speaker is Jadwiga Najder. She's the Vice Chair of the European Nuclear Society Young Generation Network. She's a nuclear engineer living in France. She works as an engineering consultant for Oak Ridge SAS, currently fulfilling a mission as a system design engineer in HPC project. Back at university, she presided a student group focusing on education and promotion of nuclear energy among children and students. Currently, she's a vice chair of European Nuclear Society Young Generation Network and a member of the board of a French-based NGO, Voices of Nuclear. And in her free time, she works as a guest host of podcast Titans of Nuclear. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Is it possible to share my slides?
Yes, just bear with me, it's loading.
Sure. Obviously, everybody knows that in order to achieve the greater diversity in nuclear fields, we need more women that are interested in nuclear and work for the industry. In the short talk, I want to tell you, or rather read, because we have very limited time, a story of Mary. Right now, she's a small child, but in her future, she may be bound to nuclear fields throughout all her career, if she finds right experiences throughout her life. Both industry, science, and NGOs find their role in providing her with these unique opportunities. So let's look at the girl on the left. Mari is in primary school and she is all energized and curious. Today, a person called nuclear scientist came to her school and showed them how splitting atoms make the electricity that later she can use in her house. Even though at home she sometimes said that some things are not for girls, like helping that in the garage, now she got the same secrets of technology and nature as the boys. And she starts her lifelong interest in STEM subjects. Let's jump a few years, and Mary is in high school. As many of her friends, she's concerned about climate and nature preservation. Looking for more information on social media, she finds several great profiles of pro-nuclear NGOs who, supported by science and industry, can efficiently inform people like her, general public, about nuclear energy. Moreover, she sees some women talking about nuclear in TV, not only men. And by the way, at the career fair at school, a person representing nuclear company was also a woman. She feels that even though nuclear is challenging as a field, she is welcome as much as her male friends. Few years later, Mary is already a young professional who finished a STEM major at the uni. During her studies, the nuclear company she now works for organized an open day only for girls, where they could meet female employees. And thanks to this, she felt encouraged by the welcoming atmosphere and is seeing that she is not the only one interested in this kind of job. Now, there are several women among her colleagues, and she finds it very stimulating for the dynamics of her team and her work. After some time, Mary decides to have a child and stays at home for some time. A little shorter than she expected initially, because her partner, got several additional weeks from his workplace to extend his paternity leave. He also works for nuclear, by the way. She is not terrified, but only scared to come back to work after such a long break, because her company provides her with some relevant trainings and gives her an easy first month to come back on track. In case of emergency, she or her partner can work flexible hours due to having a small child at home. Some years after, Mary is an executive in the company that she currently works for in nuclear industry, and she gets promoted and proposed new challenges according to her skills and interests. She and her fellow female executives earn similar salary as her male counterparts. She feels like empowering other girls and women to follow the same path as her. Finally, we can almost finish the story of Mary. She is a senior expert with many decades of experience, and she plays an important role in the most complex topics in her field that the company encounters during its work. The company also appreciates her input and takes care to keep her active until her retirement. As a word of conclusion, each and every girl and woman can be Mary. The work on diversity in nuclear, as well as other STEM subjects, not only nuclear, is in a similar situation. The actions need to continue throughout the active years of a person and not only focus on her professional years or on education. This is all aiming at creating equal opportunities for girls and women, and all of the entities that are represented today, so NGOs, industry, science, have an essential role in building these opportunities for women. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jadwiga. Our next speaker is Vicky Dingwall. She is part of the Nuclear Institute Young Generation Network COP26 delivery team working on nuclear advocacy ahead of COP26. Vicky won the national YGN speaking competition in 2019 with her presentation on how diversity and inclusion contributes to a healthy nuclear safety culture, and continues to deliver this successful talk across the industry. Vicky has worked in the nuclear industry for 15 years, first at operational power station Hinkley Point B, and then as one of the first 30 people employed on the Hinkley Point C project, working on nuclear advocacy and engagement. Over to you, Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this afternoon, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about culture And I think that was just fantastic what we heard about the life of Mary as well. It's really, I've made some notes because it's really got me thoughtful on what I'm going to talk to you about. So we know that in our industry, a healthy nuclear safety culture is essential. It's so important that WANO and INPO have clearly defined the traits of a nuclear safety culture. We're probably all very familiar with the 10 traits for respectful work environment, questioning attitude, continuous learning, environment to be able to raise concerns. So these are the behaviours and actions that you'll see when the culture is at a standard that we would expect within our industry, within the nuclear industry. And hopefully we've all got some examples and some really easy recollections of processes and practices and things that are designed to encourage this, things like 3-way communications, encouraging a questioning attitude, continuous learning environments. Just thinking outside of the nuclear industry for a second and thinking about how a team, any team, might approach a task. Let me use an example. So when we go on kind of team away days and we do little team building things, sometimes they'll give you activities like maybe building a paper tower where, you know, you've got lots of paper and you have to build the tower that's the highest in the shortest amount of time as a team and get together and kind of use those tools. So I'm quite a creative sort. How I would approach a task like that, I'd probably get quite excited about the design and all sorts of kind of thoughts about what my tower might look like. I might be thinking, oh, I want to build a replica Eiffel Tower out of paper. And because I'm quite creative, I might spend so long thinking about all my weird and wonderful ideas. I don't know if I would ever get around to building it. Then there's other people on this call who might be more technical. They might think about the stability and the height of the structure. There might be other people who work with tools and they might be thinking about what type of paper we've got, how can we use it to best effect. And so even just on this call, if we were all to get together and try and tackle a really simple task like this right now, the diversity on this call alone would be absolutely enormous. That's the diversity. But we can't forget the inclusion aspect. And the inclusion comes in whether or not I would feel able to share with you my pie in the sky ideas about a paper Eiffel Tower, whether or not the cost engineer would feel comfortable being able to point out that we actually don't have enough paper to build that design, or whether or not the engineer would want to speak up and let us know that actually the whole thing's going to fall over if we carry on how we're going. And so it's incredibly important to those traits of a healthy nuclear safety culture to be able to create an environment where those people feel respected enough to be able to ask that question, to identify and resolve problems, but also to push for innovative solutions and continuous learning. And diversity and inclusion are both essential. And this doesn't happen organically. This isn't something where you can just know that you need it and hope that it's going to come along on its own. We've all got a role to play. So whether on the call you are quite senior in your role, whether you're junior, whether you're involved in recruitment or development, whether you feel like you're a small cog in a big wheel, we all work in the industry, and the environment that we foster and create matters, and our actions and behaviours matter, and the things that we think are important will be important. So I made a note because I think Life of Mary is exactly what I'm talking about here. You know, in everything that we do, in the way that we conduct ourselves, when we recruit, are we appealing to that widest possible pool of talent? Are we thinking about our language and our asks on the role and seeing if with small changes to our approach, could we reach an even wider pool? And then when we go about our day-to-day, exactly as Life of Mary, you know, coming back from maternity leave, you know, when you're in your meetings, are you ensuring that everybody in the meeting feels that they're able to share their ideas without fear of criticism? And how can we, whether it's our meeting or not, help to encourage ideas and discussion in that meeting? So even if it's not your meeting, just looking around the room and making sure that everybody feels included and engaged and able to speak up. And I mean, I'm sure we've all done it. You can sometimes just share a few simple words of encouragement to let people know that they're valued and respected. It's small things like this that can make a huge impact. How can we help support the development of others? So, I mean, events like this and all the fantastic things that we've talked about so far already on the call really do make a difference. We can reach out and be role models and help coach and support and share learnings and experiences so that people know that they're not alone in the experiences they're going through. And we can also help to be a leg up for someone who might need it. You know, events like Win Global Run is fantastic for networking and meeting other people and being able to help progress your career. So I'm just going to finish on the final point, really, of how are we on this call as nuclear professionals going to ensure that our industry is safe, diverse, inclusive, and fit to lead a sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicky. That was a really good talk, and I'm pretty sure some of these questions we will cover later in the Q&A. And this is just a reminder for all attendees, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box to ask the question, which will be answered later. Our next speaker in this panel is Lena Andriola. She is the president of the International Youth Nuclear Congress, where she has been involved since 2014 and held various responsibilities within the organization, leading multicultural and diverse teams of young professionals. Professionally, Lena is an R&D project manager for radioactive waste management at EDF. Previously, she was in charge of R&D developments and simulations in the field of severe accidents for both light water and fast reactors. Before joining EDF, Lena worked as a scientist at the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology and in Germany. Over to you, Lena. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica, for the introduction, and it's my pleasure to be here with you today to share my views on today's panel topic. Now, we heard it just before, we are living in a global world with a multitude of different cultures and personalities. With the access to digital tools, this has become even more present, and it's therefore only natural that the diversity we have all around the globe should also be reflected in the workplace. And by diversity, I mean gender, of course, but also geographical and professional background. Especially in the nuclear field, we have been focused on a workforce emerging from our own countries in the past, like it was the case in my home country, France. But this is subject to change. And while there has been tremendous efforts in this sense over the past years, I feel like there is still some room for improvements. Now, it has been acknowledged since quite some time that diversity is a key to success for organizations. And I'm a witness of it every day through my role at the International Youth Nuclear Congress, the IYNC. Diversity is indeed the essence of our organization. Let me detail why. IYNC's core mission since 1997 is to support knowledge transfer between generations and across international boundaries. Beyond knowledge transfer, IYNC also focuses on communicating the benefits of nuclear energy, promoting the peaceful use of nuclear science and technology, and providing a platform for networking. Now, de facto, knowledge transfer is based on the understanding that diverse approaches are valuable for the society at large. By sharing best practices and confronting your ideas, by questioning your certainties, you will be pushed to shift perspectives. It allows you not only to grow personally, but also ensures critical thinking of the younger generations and creates a fertile ground for innovation in the future workplace. Now, the IYNC Global Network relies on its national representatives and existing young generation networks, the YGNs. And our diverse community is what constitutes our strength. Currently, 46 countries are represented within our network. We are collaborating not only with those YGNs worldwide, but also with partner organizations such as Women in Nuclear Global or Thomas Thor Associates, because we acknowledge, understand, and value that we can learn from each other and we can complement each other. Now, let me share an example with you. Every 2 years, the IYNC organizes an international conference in collaboration with a given country young generation network. Currently, we are organizing the 12th edition of it under the theme, You Are the Core, with a human-centric approach to nuclear. This conference will be held in Russia in May 2022, and I invite you all to join. Now, back in 2018, we organized for the first time this conference jointly with the Women in Nuclear Global Annual Conference. Both women and youth were strongly represented as participants, as speakers, but also as mentors and role models. It was the result of a fruitful collaboration accompanied by a strong grants program which ensured diversity. It kicked off our mentoring program and inspired us even further to be models in terms of diversity at all levels. Now, for companies, diversity is also key if you want to attract young talents like the millennials or the Generation Y. These generations which are open and curious about the world, seeking to confront ideas and ways of doing. Now, acknowledging and valuing diversity means ensuring that you are looking for and hiring the best talents available around the world. The YGNs can support in understanding this constantly evolving diversity through their activities and through the knowledge of their local cultures. Our new project at IYNC, which is called the World Young Generation in Nuclear Thermometer, is an example of it. It aims at understanding what inspires or refrains the youth to join the nuclear field, how we can adapt, and how you can take into account all regional specificities. Now, to conclude, I would like to say that for me, the current and next generation in the workplace not only needs to be highly skilled, but also needs to be highly adaptable. We need to embrace diversity and see it as it is, an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lena, for delivering these messages. And thank you to all the speakers, Dominic, Jadwiga, and Vicky, and Lena, for being part of the first panel. Does any of the speaker has any questions or would like to reflect on what's been said so far? And if not, we can move on to the second panel and cover any questions later on. No? Okay, that's all right, thank you. So we are now moving into the second panel, experience exchange on work-life balance. So the benefits of a broadly diverse work environment will be demonstrated by experience exchange on work-life balance provided by those working in the nuclear industry. And I would like to ask Tim to kindly introduce speakers for this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. Well, I'm struck by all the messages I've heard. In my career, I think I've been privileged to interview many thousands of people, and certainly more than 1,000 for my own organizations. And in that time, I cannot imagine if I would have taken a half of society and said, I don't want to interview those people or attract that talent. Or if I looked at Amsterdam, one of the most diverse cities in the world, where I've spent the last 20 years of my career, and had looked at many of the people in this city and effectively whittled it down to about a quarter that I was interested in interviewing. So I can't imagine putting that restriction on myself. And what we're going to hear from now are like, in some ways, some real life Marys, harking back to that wonderful image that we had. And we're going to hear some real life stories. So first of all, we're going to hear from Julia and Jean-François Cantel. I apologize for pronunciations with my very British accent. Julia is an EDF engineer, and she's currently part of the Hinkley Point C project team, which is obviously being led by EDF in the UK. And she's working more particularly on the inclusion of British regulations in the safety reference system for that project. She moved to Bristol in the summer of 2019 with her husband, Jean-François, and her 3 children. So they've spent a tough last 15 months or so in lockdown there. Jean-François is also an EDF engineer. During 2020, encouraged by Jean-François, Julia applied for the Femme Energia Prize in the category Women Working in Europe, and she won first prize. So I look forward to hearing from both of you. Thank you.
Many thanks, Tim. So hello, everyone. I'm Julia Cantel. I'm French. I'm 35, and I'm passionate about energy. I was employed by EDF in France in 2010, and I worked 5 years in Marseille for the nuclear safety of the French nuclear fleet in operation. Then I had the chance to work 4 years on the largest European nuclear power plant at Gravelines as team leader of a support team. And since January 2020, I have been working in the UK on the outstanding HPC project. I share a passion for nuclear energy with my husband, Jean-François, as we have a similar background. We met in engineering school and we never left each other again. We completed all the same internships. We attended the same graduate schools. We were employed the same week at EDF, and we have moved always together from place to place. He is my unfailing support, actually. We have 3 children who are 6, 4, and 2 years old, and our family is our priority. I am also passionate about helping others, And in my personal time, I work for the association Women in Nuclear. And since July 2020, during the first lockdown in UK, I have also launched the Expat Family Team, which is a network for French expat EDF partners in the UK. And for example, right now, there are 60 partners in this team. One word about my vision of a family. Actually, I see my family as a team. Everyone has something to share with the others. This is the same thing in a company. For example, last year, I was beginner level, so my English was very, very basic. And it was extremely difficult to communicate at work. My children, who are completely fluent in English now, help me every day during the story time. I read books and they correct me. I love to do it, to show them, even though they are young, that everyone, whatever their age, whatever their background, can teach something to others. And last point, the key for my perspective is to avoid putting useless pressure on myself. I would be the first to admit that I am not perfect, not at all. I'm not the best engineer. I'm not the best wife. I'm not the best mommy, the best friend, the best cook, whatever you want. But I always try to do my best. Actually, I avoid spending energy trying to reach impossible goals. Thank you. And Jean-François, I'll let you the floor.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. And to complete what Julia said, for me, work-life balance is important, as there is no such thing as a stringent boundary between professional life and personal life. They are both interconnected. Sometimes one can assume work-family is a seesaw, and if work is up, family is down. The way I see it is different. Actually, work and family can be mutually beneficial. As a parent, you develop or reinforce soft skills such as empathy, active listening, patience, that are very useful in work environment. At work, I have noticed diversity in gender and age, for instance, are valuable to teams, as the difference of context between each team member foster diverse idea exchange, helping overcome challenges or issues efficiently in an innovative way. It also enables sharing of work-life stories, work-family choices, and advices that are beneficial to work-life balance concerns that team members are facing. Nevertheless, I have also noticed that diversity cannot bring positive impact only by gathering diverse team members together. It's also paramount that they feel comfortable enough to speak up, to present contrarian views. To that end, companies' core values are crucial, and it's important that leaders not only endorse those values, but embody them too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean-François and Julia. A great personal story of, I know the experience of being abroad with a family. My own children would wish that they had been as successful at teaching me Dutch as yours have at teaching you English. Yeah, so living abroad with a young family during the last tough 15 months, wow, to keep a work-life balance through that period, it's impressive to hear. Thank you very much for your story. So moving on, our next speaker is Sophie Lemaire from Westinghouse. Sophie is a graduate engineer in energy and nuclear physics, and she started her career in EDF 25 years ago in the neutronic safety analysis area. She took various roles with increasing responsibility in the EDF engineering organization and managed teams in particular in charge of fuel cycle oversight. Sophie joined Westinghouse in 2009 as a manager for nuclear fuel business development in France and rapidly took on more responsibilities in the field of engineering services. She was appointed Customer Project Director in developing and delivering all types of products and services to EDF. And in 2016, Sophie became Vice President for Westinghouse in France, Belgium, and South Africa, and extended her responsibility to the UK just last year. So, Sophie, we look forward very much to hearing you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. I recognize a little bit of my story in Julia's and Jean-François' story, because I started my career in EDF. So it was a long time ago. I'm much older than you are, but and my husband happened to work in EDF at that time as well. So that's an interesting parallel. And I truly know that this is really, EDF is truly a company that since many, many years truly supports women taking management positions. So from the beginning of my work life, I was in an environment where women take responsibility, are valued for their opinions, are supported by their management, and the company did not hesitate to promote women in high responsibility positions already at that time. When I joined Westinghouse, so it was 12 years ago now, I was very happy first to realize that Westinghouse shares the same value. And I think it's very common across the nuclear industry. And maybe because everything started with Marie Curie, so maybe the woman power started very early in our industry. Moreover, Westinghouse also being a very global organization, obviously, diversity is a reality every day. And I happen to work with people from various countries, various origin, gender, of course, religion, culture. So it's, I would say diversity is just part of our day-to-day working life all the time. And what I learned from my experience, and I wanted really to share with you, is that diversity is not only a strong value for respect and culture, but it is a very powerful tool to create the best team that will lead to success. And what I mean by this is that it's very easy to work with people who are very similar to you, very easy, but it is limiting in a way. And when you work with people very different from you, they will bring you some ideas that you would not even think about. They will bring you some energies coming from sources that are different from yours. So sometimes if you are down, they will be absolutely up and on it. They will bring you solutions that you would not dare to try. They will bring you some connection with people that you would not have access to. So all this is really creating the environment to success. And now if I focus more on gender diversity, because we are in IYNC here today, and this is what we are focusing on, really my message to the young women who are listening to us today is always the same. You have to dare. And when I took my first management role, which by the way, I knew would require frequent travels at that time, my son was 2 years old and my daughter was 3 months old. So very young, she was really a baby. And I can tell you, I hesitated a lot to take this role, but finally I dared. And I would not say it was easy every day, of course, but it was really worth it. It required a lot of organization, and my husband was a really strong help to make me also help me make it successful. But really, I dared. And this led me to the next step in my development. And those doubts came back each time I had a new opportunity to grow in another position with more responsibility. But I never let my gender be an excuse to say no. So ladies, just my message to you, you have to dare. And that would be my final word. Thank you.
Wow, Sophie, what a powerful story. Thank you very much. So that really is talking about the great culture that does exist within the nuclear industry and the opportunity that has created for women to progress. But it also, it takes two sides to the story. So it's also a case that women need to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. So on that note, we're going to talk to another woman who's taken advantage of the opportunities presented to her. So that's Joelle Vallory from the Fusion for Energy. Joelle worked for 17 years in France at the French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission as an engineer, then a project manager, and then a head of lab. From 2008 to 2012, she worked in the engineering department at the Callum Centre for Fusion Energy in the UK, just down the road from Oxford. And in December 2012, she joined Fusion for Energy European Institution in charge of the in-kind contribution to the ITER project located in Barcelona, Spain. So, Joelle, I hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Tim, for the kind introduction. I'm really delighted to be in front of you this afternoon to discuss the matter. It's just that maybe I should have consulted with Julia and Jean-François, as my message is going to be very similar, right? So I came in front of you today just to share my own experience on what is work and life balance in our environment, and wanted to say that for me, expatriation was a real challenge in terms of work-life balance. So as you were saying, I was comfortably installed in my life, working life in the south of France, working at CEA with climbing the management ladder, when suddenly I felt a little bit of discomfort following down that route. So I decided that I would move on and do an expatriation experience and work at the Callum Center for Fusion Energy. At that time, it was quite a shift for me because from management position, I became an engineer in a design team I really enjoy. But actually what I had not measured was that I was going to become the project manager of the family, which became the most challenging thing that never happened to me in terms of project management. So I moved there with my husband, who had to find a job, a boy that was 8-year-old saying, I will never speak a word of English. By the way, this boy is studying at Manchester University at the moment, and a girl who was not speaking English, but had to study Charles Dickens literature. So you see, the message here is expatriation is here to help you managing a work-life balance, because just in case I wanted to settle down myself in my new engineering role and forget about the work, the life outside of me, it was strictly impossible. I had to focus on everybody succeeding in that expatriation. The success of working abroad does not only depend on you succeeding in your job. The success of working abroad relies on everybody finding its own space, being happy to live in that country, mastering the language and getting used to the culture and the diversity of the place. So as if it was not enough, I decided to go for another change and moved into Fusion for Energy, the company which is in charge of the European contribution for the ITER machine. So here comes the encounter with the diversity of a European institution. This is where you learn to be a good listener, because you have colleagues with different cultural background, with different mastering of the language. And this was also the new challenge to work in such a diverse environment. And as Sophie has said, because I'm a big fan of Sophie, I just would like to give the message to the young female in nuclear engineering, just go for it. It is so worth it. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
Joelle, thank you. Another brave story about taking opportunity. So thank you very much for that. The next speaker, I remember the first time I met Callum Thomas, who is the founder of Thomas Thor Associates, where I'm privileged to be the managing director. And it was on a training course that we were mutually invited to somewhere in London about 15 plus years ago. And Callum mentioned his ambition for moving abroad. So he sought me out I now know this is exactly his methodology. He sought me out in the room as someone he knew had moved abroad and said, "You've moved abroad for your career, what does it involve?" So Callum remains intentional and just as he was then in terms of understanding about moving abroad. And he's been very intentional in his role at Thomas Thor in terms of ensuring work-life balance. So we're going to hear a video from Callum, which I think is going to be played any moment now. He's actually on paternity leave at the moment, excitingly having just had a brand newborn. So that's why he's not live.
Hi, I'm Callum Thomas, the CEO and founder of Thomas Thor Associates, and I'm happy to join you for an experience exchange on work-life balance. The first thing I would like to say is that really I find the term work-life balance a bit strange because it suggests that the two are very different things, and for me, I just see it as life balance. And I think the first thing I could say is it's work in progress for me. I think maybe for all of us, it's maybe not something that you achieve and then it's done. I think it's always work in progress and it changes all the time. What equals balance might be different 1 month or 1 year to the next. One thing that I feel is that if you can't be yourself, then it's exhausting. So anybody who is themselves at home, let's say, and then they go to work and they can't be themselves, then it truly is exhausting. And I think finding a balance when you're exhausted and it's really difficult in some environments must be really hard. So I think the main key to work-life balance or to life balance is to be able to be yourself wherever you are, whether it's at home or work or anywhere else. I can talk a bit about how I work now. I am running a company that has around 90 staff spread across 8 different countries. But we have a lot of flexibility in the company, and I think there's certain things that an organization can put in place in terms of policy, which is allowing flexibility to exist, allowing people to be themselves when they're at work. And there are other things that maybe are better done at a team level. So in Thomas Thor, we delegate to the team level much of the responsibility for designing working environment. And that includes, I guess, things like flexibility, working hours and that kind of thing. But so much of it is at the individual level. And I think willpower is just so important here because I think sometimes I have to remind myself that I think we have a bit more control over our balance than we maybe think. Sometimes we think that it might be the company or the team that we're in that exerts the work-life balance criteria. But I think just by having the willpower to, for example, avoid distractions like email or to concentrate on tasks until they're completed, it's hard. And especially at home, I guess the pandemic has really accelerated this kind of blended life of being at work and at home at the same time. I think it's difficult. It requires a lot of willpower. I'm about to become a father and I'm planning to take 4 weeks off. And I think there's been times in starting Thomas Thor where the work-life balance has been more on the work side if we're opening a new office or starting a new division. And there's other times when it's more at the home side. So I'm about to enter a period where it's going to be more at the home side, and I'll be taking a month off when the baby arrives. And then after that, probably my work-life balance will look a bit different to how it does now. So I think it's constantly changing. It's about being yourself wherever you are, and it's about taking responsibility for the things that we have control over individually, like willpower to actually avoid the bad things and do the good things and make them habitual. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you for asking me to join and share my views. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. So that concludes that topic on work-life balance. I do just have a question to any of the speakers, whether they want to contribute. I know particularly that Sophie, you probably need to leave before the actual Q&A session. So if there's anything that anyone wants to come back on, then now would be the time. No. Otherwise, for me to say, I'm just struck by the individuality of each story. And I think that goes on to connect to the next topic, which is that, which suggests there is no single solution for delivering supportive and flexible work environment diversity. So we're going to hear from some industry representatives that are going to share their policy perspective either live or in a video format over the coming few minutes. So Veronica, if I can ask you to introduce the first video. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tim. So the first video is from the International Atomic Energy Agency, who is the world's central intergovernmental forum for scientific and technical cooperation in the nuclear field. It works for the safe, secure, and peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology, contributing to international peace and security and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The International Atomic Energy Agency is committed to gender equality and to supporting the ability of all individuals, regardless of gender, to equally contribute to and benefit from its program and activities. And just bear with me a moment, I'll start to play the video.
I love starting my day early. It gives me opportunity to appreciate the work we do here. Good morning, Sonia. It's so much more than just a job. Working for an organization that values women and makes an effort for gender equality means a lot to me. Also, working with people from different cultures and backgrounds continues to prove very rewarding. As a nuclear safeguards inspector, it is my job to make sure that in a state there is no diversion of declared nuclear material from peaceful nuclear activities and no indication of undeclared nuclear material or activities. Conferences are good opportunities to get in touch. There are people from nuclear applications to translate us into nuclear safeguards. All of us working for peaceful use and development of nuclear resources. Hi, Marian. Are you here too?
Hi, Ayako. Yes, I'm on standby today, and I have to translate the revised agenda immediately. So I have to go now. See you later. Bye. Being a translator for the IAEA can be challenging sometimes, but at the same time, I find it interesting and rewarding to bring the message of Atoms for Peace and Development from one language into another, hence contributing to promote multilingualism and increase access to information in several languages. I work with very professional and highly skilled colleagues from different backgrounds and cultures. Together, we use state-of-the-art technologies in translation, and we share a common vision for our people to be recognized as leaders for excellence in service delivery. Being a translator for the IAEA is also a continuous learning process. After many years at the IAEA translating several documents on various subjects, I still learn something new with every document I translate. It's not just a job, it's a passion.
As a lab head, working for the IAEA means not only working on projects being implemented all over the world, but it also includes research and development activities carried out here in the IAEA laboratories. We develop nuclear and isotope techniques in the field of sustainable agriculture, food security, environmental management, radiation therapy, and many, many other fields. We use and apply state-of-the-art nuclear and research technologies in all these scientific fields. These technologies can be used in the lab, can be used in the field. They are in constant evolution and in constant development by our teams of scientists and technicians. Working for the IAEA is a splendid experience. We apply science that have been developed over many years. This science we use to solve issues and improve livelihoods. But every day usually ends. With some time for socializing Hi, guys.
Thank you, Veronica. So the next speaker is going to join us live. It's Thibaut Bigre, and he is the Human Resources Officer for the French subsidiaries of GDES Group, which is an internationally oriented company with worldwide headquarters located in Valencia in Spain. So with over 85 years of experience, the group provides energy-related services in areas within the nuclear industry, such as decommissioning, surface treatment, and also in the wind turbine industries. After completing a bachelor's degree in Canada and a master's degree in Aix-en-Provence, Thibaut worked for 5 years as a human resources manager specialized in recruitment, training, and skills development. And then he joined GDES in 2019. So Thibaut, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you for this introduction. Thank you. Thank you. In order to enhance our work environment diversity and create a better work-life balance in our company for our employees, we have implemented several policies. For more than 1 year, home working has been spread. It enables our employees, among them women, to improve their work-life balance. It creates more flexible solutions to watch for the kids, for example. Working hours within our company have become less rigid. On a broader scale, middle or top managers are no longer constrained to follow official working hours. They schedule timetables according to their wishes. We trust them in the fact that we know tasks will be implemented, realized properly. In Spain, another example at the headquarters, in the summer, working hours are reduced. This aims at creating more opportunities for family to get together, to enjoy each other. And as a matter of fact, employees leave offices at 3 in the afternoon, and this will be until the end of September. Also, we have been developing partnerships with universities or energy-related schools to welcome more young people as interns, for example. In France, as special members, we have École Centrale Marseille, an engineering college. We have also IRUP, which trains people for nuclear-related services and jobs. We have a strong commitment to research and innovation. We have the Polytechnical University in Valencia, in Spain, as a partner in order to develop new tools in our industry. And one final example I would like to share with you. In France, in the fall 2020, we created a special partnership with the Unemployment Agency in Southeast France. It aimed at offering unemployed people with diverse backgrounds a 3-month painting training. It was completely free of charge for them. And in the end, we intended to recruit them as specialized painters for ITER, our most exciting site currently. 11 people were selected as trainees. 9 of them were recruited, offering them the opportunity to start a new life. And in terms of diversity, 2 of them were immigrants coming from Africa. 7 of them, so most of them, were aged under 30 years old. So in fact, these are short examples of policy highlights in our group regarding diversity and work-life balance. Thank you.
Thank you, Thibaut. Just to make sure, was there anything else you wanted to add? Because my screen kind of got frozen, so just want to make sure that everything you wanted to say that you've covered.
Everything is fine. Where did it stop?
All right. Thank you very much, Thibaut. So we will now move on to the next video, which is kindly provided by ITER. ITER is one of the most ambitious energy projects in the world today. In southern France, 35 nations are collaborating to build the world's largest tokamak, a magnetic fusion device that has been designed to prove the feasibility of fusion as a large-scale and carbon-free source of energy based on the same principle that powers our sun and stars. So now share a video which ITER kindly prepared for us. Just bear with me for a moment.
Good afternoon. I am Laetitia Grammatico, the head of legal affairs of ITER organization within the office of the Director General of ITER. I'm very pleased to be a part of this webinar organized and hosted by the WIN Global Young Generation and to be part of the panel 3. So before starting to explain what ITER is doing in terms of work environment, I will provide some information about ITER and fusion. ITER is an international collaboration and it is an intergovernmental organization created by an ITER agreement, international treaty in 2006. 7 members are composing ITER organization, including, as you can see here, the European Union. This is one of the most ambitious energy projects in the world today. And as you can see on the map, it is located in the south of France. Working in ITER is a very challenging project, but it is also a very exciting scientific and engineering environment with an excellent quality of life in the south of France. The conditions of work are quite attractive in ITER. In particular, there is a welcome package, there is a relocation service, but there is also, in addition to that, an international school for children of the ITER project. So this is a very unique and interesting. In terms of attractiveness of women, I would like to provide some statistics about ITER gender. Because, as you can see, there are about 20% of ITER women in the staff of ITER. 20%, it's not a lot, but it is also important to understand that only around 20% of women are applying to ITER position. So, if you don't apply, you cannot be recruited. ITER is providing very supportive and flexible work environment by encouraging women to apply with a specific mention on the ITER public website. The gender balance is also taken into account in the ITER Organization Code of Conduct. And last but not last, the ITER New Normal that was launched in 2020 is a very important tool in terms of flexibility of work environment because it allows the ITER staff to work up to 3 days a week at home, so to telework, and to come on site 2 days a week. So this is very good in terms of flexibility to accommodate the work, the intense work of the ITER staff with their private life. And it is also quite interesting in terms of improvement of the quality of life of the IO staff, taking into account the environmental protection as we use less paper, there are less commuting between home and the work site. In ITER, there is also an ITER Women Network that was established. It is a professional network open to anyone, promoting and celebrating women in science and women at ITER. You can follow this network in Twitter or in YouTube, as you can see on this slide. So in conclusion, I would say that women are strongly encouraged to apply to ITER position and to become part of this amazing project. So do not hesitate.
And thank you. It's, I think, a really important question there. How do we encourage women to apply? The statistics mentioned there have been borne out by many studies that we've done at Thomas Thor and that I've seen throughout my career, that fewer women apply than ultimately get the job. So there are more men willing to give it a go in terms of their applications. So this is one of many important questions. I would encourage you at this point, we're going into the last video. So if you could get your questions lined up in the question box, that would be really useful. We had some questions beforehand, so we have some material, but the panelists are staying on to answer questions afterwards. So if you have any questions at all on the first topic regarding the need for work environment diversity for a more sustainable future, or the second topic in terms of work-life balance, or the third topic in terms of what flexible work environment do we need in order to ensure diversity, then please get your questions in. We now go into the last video. As we heard from Sophie earlier, Westinghouse is a company in which diversity and inclusion are an integral part of the DNA. And they've understood that their teams need to be challenged and enjoy what they do in a supportive and respectful environment. So we're going to hear how Westinghouse strive to maintain that balance in order to reach their personal and professional goals. So again, Veronica, if you could play the video, thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And I'm afraid that the Westinghouse video hasn't covered more in this topic, and it was the key message that you've already delivered about the Westinghouse culture and their DNA. So we can now, I think, move into the third panel, into the Q&A discussion. So I'd like to kindly ask all speakers to turn on their cameras and be ready to kick off the discussions. So also, if any of the attendees have any additional questions or an important point to raise or anything of concern, feel free to submit even a comment into the Q&A, which I'm pretty sure will be very valuable for the discussion. First of all, before we start, I'd like to ask speakers, panelists, to if there's anything they would like to reflect on, which you've heard and you think is an important point to raise. No? Okay, that's all right. Tim, any comments so far?
No, I think I'm just struck by the fact that we have had so many different stories and we do need to reflect that that's really what diversity is about. It's understanding each individual and the journey they're on from a career perspective. Now, obviously, when we look at gender diversity, the reality is those stories are often different for women than they are for men. And that's why I think we have to focus on the individual stories, and they can all be challenging in their own way.
Yes, I agree.
I can say something, Veronica? Yes. Okay, I would like to, all what I have heard and all the witnesses are extremely interesting. And I think that today there are a lot of opportunities for young women to join the nuclear sector, the nuclear industry, nuclear medicine, and all the applications of radioactive radiations, you know. And I would like to point out that in Women in Nuclear Global, we have a lot of opportunities to share experiences with these young women. We have had the first experience very rich with the Institute of Entrepreneuriat of Madrid to develop the leadership of our young members. And we are developing a mentoring program to accompany the young ladies who join the nuclear sector. So as Sophie was saying, these young ladies have to go ahead, to trust in themselves, and as IYNC Global, we are there to help them, to accompany them, and to take also advantage of their ideas and their proposals. It's what I would like to say. Okay.
Sorry. Thank you, Dominic. That was certainly a good point. And do you have any advice for, let's say, more senior leaders to take into account, proposals, or, to hear out the younger generations already working? Because sometimes, especially in big firms where there is a lot of hierarchy, it's sometimes very difficult to hear the young voices. So is there any advice on this side?
My advice is extremely simple. It's exactly the same as Sophie: to dare and to trust in yourself, and to realize that we are, each individual, each young people is a part of the puzzle that we are building for a better future and for the nuclear, for climate and the diversity, gender issues, and so on. So they have to dare and trust in themselves. We have a strong collaboration with Thomas Thor, and now we are developing collaborations with other, as I mentioned, institutes to develop their leadership and to give them the ambition to reach top management levels. And today we have had a lot of witnesses of ladies, even young ladies, with top management positions. So trust in yourself.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. And I mean, we've heard today a lot of really great examples, and we have a lot of role models, if I can say that way, here today with us. So I wonder if anyone would like to share a kind of experience or an example of where they kind of dared to speak up and it really worked out in a really good way. If there's an example you would like to share, Jadwiga, Vicky, or Lena, or if you've come across any experience like this, which I'm sure you have, or Andrea. No one?
Maybe I will just say some comment that is in the spirit of a previous talk, that I think what can work a lot are these network communities, and we have really a chance that we have many networks in a nuclear field. So I think that if even young people or any age are questioning how to find work-life balance, how to improve the possibilities in career, or how even to travel and live and work in another country, this is the gate. And when I was actually preparing the topic with the team on this webinar, I read a very interesting statement. I think I will remember it. It was said that in prehistoric times, the groups were created just to survive and not to be eaten by animals. And now the groups are important for people to survive in society, to eliminate the stress and loading, and maybe to live better. So I think that for all of us, because we are here, we already know the networks, but I believe that even this webinar will be seen by many people on YouTube after and so on. So I really believe that they will realize that the network can help or all these aspects. So it was even my case, and I think I hope that we inspired many people.
Yeah,
Thanks,
maybe,
Andrea. Sorry, go on, Lena.
maybe to reflect on what Andrea just mentioned, I just wanted to also share indeed her thoughts, in the sense that, yeah, there are many different types of networks existing in the nuclear field. You have the young generation networks in your local countries, you have them on a regional basis, like the ENSYTN today, you have them in companies, you have the IYNC at international level, you have the Women in Nuclear Global and the Y Generation section of it. So there are many opportunities for you to get information, to get involved on the level that you wish to. And yeah, I can only stress what my predecessors in this panel also mentioned. Go there, ask your question. Feel free to ask any questions actually that are relevant to you. And I think we will all be more than happy to support and to give and share our experience if it can help you.
Thanks, Lena, and thanks, Andrea. I think you've actually gone some way to answering one of the questions that we've had in, but I wouldn't mind asking maybe Joelle and Julia just to comment on this question. So it really is sharing that we heard lots of great stories of people moving internationally with their career, but in reality, all situations had a supportive family, supportive partner specifically. And so the question is really, in the situations where that doesn't exist, there isn't always a partner, or the partner is not in a position to be supportive. Do you have any advice? I wondered, Joelle, there are supports from these organizations, but Joelle, do you have any specific thoughts on that?
Yes, I do. I am part of an association in my free time, which is called Inspired Women Lead. And it really brought me a lot in my life as a woman, right? And one of the things that it brought me is that if you need help, why don't you ask, right? Because you can think that your family is not supportive, but if you don't ask when you are in need, then you will never know, right? So for me, I think this is Julia was saying that in the team member, each member has a task which is assigned. And when you live abroad, it cannot be otherwise, because each of us has a skill. You know, I was at the beginning the only Spanish speaker, so I was involved in interaction with Spanish, and each of us had a skill to help the others. But again, I read that question and it really echoed to me that the first thing before saying you are not being helped is to look at yourself and think, well, actually, did I ask for it?
Thank you, Joelle. Yeah, very wise. Julia, any thoughts to add from your side?
I share that Joelle just said, and maybe I could answer to this question with the other way. What would be my life without my partners, without Jean-François? It's sure it would not be the same, but not at all. So I would say exactly you need to find someone who inspire you, and you need to ask for help. For my situation is Jean-François, and I'm a good example because today I'm here with you speaking English, and last year I didn't speak English. So, you know, the family is a team, and each of us has something to push out the boundaries. And this is exactly that Jean-François is doing for me. But in other case, it could be your mother, your friend, your father. you know, you never know. So just, yes, you have to find someone who will support you, actually.
And maybe just to rebound on what you mentioned and what Joelle said earlier, I think the key point is the communication. Whatever you are with a partner, indeed you can count on your family or some association member you are working for. Clearly is to communicate, in fact, in truth, how you feel, what are your expectations, if there is any blocker currently, and you feel, not comfortable at work or in your life. It's really, in fact, asking, for some advice. From a personal note, I think we are always able to find someone around us that can support us. But yeah, the first step, obviously, is to dare asking for advice.
Thank you. One of the talks I've heard, I've been an expat for 20 years, and one of the talks I heard talked about who is your 2 a.m. friend. And I think it's worth thinking whenever you move to a new country of who can be that friend. And it isn't necessarily, sometimes it isn't your partner, because sometimes it's that situation that you need help with. So it is important to find friends whenever you move to a new location. And thank you, those are really valuable input. Veronica, did you have another question from the previous questions?
Not at the moment, but there is another question in the Q&A, which is asking what are the main factors for a more effective inclusion of women in the nuclear industry? And I would like to ask all the panelists if they have a specific experience on this from their work experiences or their companies. What are the companies doing to actually make sure that there is, more women either applying for the jobs, as ITER mentioned that only 20% of the applicants are female applicants. And so how can we address this gap and actually make sure that, because it's sometimes perhaps not always just about the flexibility, but what are driving forces behind this, and how we can attract more women to study STEM or work in the nuclear industry?
I can answer if you want. I give one answer. You know that in all the companies today, and you have really the deep willing of the management to have mixity and diversity within the company. And generally, the companies create a female network, internal female network, to promote and help of all the women. But what I would say is that first, as I the communication is very important. Secondly, I think there are many things to demystify. And I would say as well that we have to consider women as professional as men, not always to do such difference. Or it's good to be involved in the mixity, it's very important, but we have to consider them as professional to help them to develop their competencies, their knowledge of the nuclear sector, to communicate with them, to bring mentoring, to designate mentors within the company. And before all, they have to be professional, and that's it.
And I have one more additional question to this. So, for example, when it comes to mentoring and you have a young woman joining the company and they would like to get a mentor, let's say from the same company or other company, it does not really matter. But do you think it would make a difference if they get more senior men as a mentor or a woman as a role play, or would they feel more supported if the mentor would be a more senior man? Because I mean, even you know, you can see a lot of events and a lot of organizations like the Women in Nuclear Global. So there is not that many men, you know, in the membership. So would it be probably best to try to see more support from men as well sometimes? And would a men mentor might work better to, you know, encourage the more inclusivity of women within the field? Or how would you feel about something like this?
I think that many men now in the companies are aware of the necessity of mixity, okay? And maybe these men have themselves daughters and they want to encourage their daughters to develop themselves in any industry, not necessarily nuclear, but why not? So mentoring is a key. It's not the only key, but it's a key. And mentoring can be brought by a member of WIN Global, can be brought by a lady of the company, no member of WIN Global, and can be achieved by a man, a senior, who is well aware of the necessity of the mixity. We are not saying that a young lady has to be mentored by a senior lady. No, it can be a man. That's it.
Anyone else?
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that point about male female mentors. I think the real key to successful mentoring is understanding what you as the mentee and you as the mentor want to get out of the relationship. So there can be real benefits to a senior male coaching a junior female who may, you know, be looking for things like confidence or, you know, for the next step to move up the chain in a senior position, or something that, you know, that particular individual might be able to help coach them through. And so I think for kind of true sort of inclusivity, that would include both men and women mentors and mentees, and you know, from a female perspective, you know, the more the merrier, the more diverse pool that you have to pick your mentor from, then the better, really, because then you're able to find somebody who can help you with your particular area that you would like to work on. And likewise, as a mentor, you can work with your mentee on a specific area as well. So yeah, I absolutely think that it's like with recruitment, you know, the widest possible pool of people willing to help and willing to coach and support one another, the better.
Thank you. And Lena, you wanted to say something before?
Yes, I actually wanted also to reflect on the first point that you were mentioning. So for me, of course, a mentorship is something that is really important in your career and in your professional development. But I would go even one step further in the sense that for me, it's everyone's responsibility actually to normalize diversity into the work environment. How do you achieve this? It's by provoking a shift of mindset, in my opinion. And this is by providing role models and really showcasing all the diversity that our field has to offer, for example. And here, I think, is where the youth has a very important role to play, because if we, the young generation, already embody this, then the next generation and we as the next leaders, I would say, of our industry will be really representative of all the diversity of the field and really normalizing it into the work environment.
Here I can maybe rebound on this one because in my opinion, the short-term goals are very important. So inclusion of women in the workplace when they are already interested or when they already joined the company, supporting the youth when they are choosing their careers, but going even further in inclusion of women, because the girls who are in the schools right now are still influenced by their families, by their culture. Not always this culture is supportive of women, and here I think there's a role for both NGOs and even maybe nuclear companies to come to these children, to come to the education facilities, to show them that this career path is possible, and actually they are not the only ones who are thinking about this and who can be successful in this field.
Sorry, thank you. And Joelle, you had a comment?
Yeah, well, actually, I wanted to build on what has just been said, because what ITER has shown is that actually only 20% of women are applying to the job position in ITER. And I guess for fusion for energy, this is about the same, right? So I think there is a key role for us to play in going into the high school and kind of showing off to the young female students what it is the life of a woman working in STEM and in the nuclear area as well, right? Because I see it really a challenge, and IYNC France is doing that, and with Patricia Schindler, we're doing a lot of this, trying to go to school and convince the young female students that there is a path for them in the STEM.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yes, thank you, Joelle. Anyone else has a comment on this topic?
Yes, I would like to. I would like to add something. Is it possible? I think you're right. It is very important as a company, as an employer, to go to universities, to go to college, to promote our jobs, our industry, to attract women, but also men, everybody, to join our workforce, to diversify our workforce. In fact, for example, in our company, we try to make more partnership with universities in order to welcome more students, more interns within the company.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. And Tim, you had a comment before?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the nuclear industry is actually a leader in this field. Previously, I spent a long time working in the finance industry, and if I compare the attitudes to gender diversity, I actually think the nuclear industry is a leader in the field in terms of attitude. It isn't a leader in terms of results. But actually, I wonder whether a common sense of purpose of going out there to talk to colleges and universities about women in STEM, that common sense of purpose will be more effective in creating unity than striving for a target internally. I can echo at schools, my daughters are 18, 15 and 13. And I can echo that the comments still exist. Maths, that's a boy's subject. Physics, that's a boy's subject. What are you doing thinking you can do physics? They still exist. And that's the point that I think we need to be challenging in order to create the change that our industry and every other STEM industry needs.
Yes, thank you. Anyone would like to add anything as we are getting towards the end of this wonderful webinar? So any additional comments or advice? Julia or Jean-François? No? All right, Andrea?
Nothing special. I just want to thank to everybody and to great moderators for today's webinar. It was the first one, and I think we are happy that we could discuss all of this. And I give the closing session to Veronica and Tim. But thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you to you. Thank you to you, the young people. Thank you to you for organizing this webinar. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dominic. And thank you, Andrea, and thank you everyone for kindly joining this either as a panelist or as an attendee. So it was a really good session, and we will make sure we follow up on this topic with our future activities, which you can follow on the WIN Global Young Generation LinkedIn page. And I'm sure we will meet sometime soon to discuss another matters. So we appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. So stay informed. If you have anything else to say, feel free to reach out via email or any other way. So we are open to talk to you. Thank you again for joining us, and have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.